All right, well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar. The last three have focused on my methodology for the market in general, for day and swing trading, and the third one was for investment in the stock market. If you want to learn more about those things, you can go check them out on my YouTube channel if you haven't seen them already. But today we're going to talk about the tools that I've created to identify opportunities in the market. These things give me a real edge in the market. They're things that I've been developing over the last 20 years. We have the Stockscores website, and then we have my proprietary tools for TradeStation, which I will be showing you as we go through today. As well, I have created strategies and a whole approach that, again, has been developed over my 30 years of trading, and I will highlight or show you how you can learn those things and walk you through the education center that we have on the Stockscores website. So let's dive right in, specifically with the itinerary for today. My goal is to show you how I can save you time and money as you work towards better investment performance in the stock market, whether you just want to invest your retirement savings or if you want to make a full or part-time career in trading. As I said, I've been trading the market for about 30 years. When I started, the tools weren't out there that I needed for my approach, so I built my own, and I'll show you those today. I'm going to sort of highlight these tools, which really give me a significant edge in trading for myself and my students, and I will highlight those things. What you're going to see today is stuff that's not used by lots of people. It's just a small group of investors and traders that use these things, and that's really my goal. It is not to have thousands and thousands of people using them. I develop them for my own purposes, and they're very expensive. $5,000–6,000 a month for data, and $250,000, $300,000 to build the market scanning tool that I built. So by having a relatively small number of students and subscribers, I can spread that cost out, and that group of people gets to utilize those as well based on what I've developed. I want to demonstrate the process for learning my strategies. I'm going to walk you through my education center where you can get online education on how to trade the stock market. I will show you the strategy rules with the tools and walk you through step by step. Now, the goal at the end will be to apply some of that. If you were in Thursday's webinar, you'll know that we did a market scan on the Stockscores website in search of opportunity. We did one on Saturday last week as well. We actually found a pretty good winner on Saturday. Try to uncover something else again today, but we'll have to see how that turns out with some market scans at the end. Also, if you have some stocks that you'd like my feedback on, save that until the end, and I will give you my read of a handful of stocks anyways. All right, well, let's talk first about Stockscores for investors. So we're going to have two paths today. If you plan on learning how to be an investor in the stock market, manage your retirement portfolio, grow your net worth through the stock market, it's a great way to do that. Obviously, the stock market has had a better annual return than any other investment class over the last 50 years. And so it is a great place to invest. But I'm going to talk today about position trading and then a second sort of channel on active trading. And let's talk first about investing. So we talk about position trading where we're holding stocks for as short as a few weeks, but more typically a few months, maybe a couple of years, but not usually. We're trying to hold stocks while they are beating the market, while they are moving quicker than the market. So for example, in the past year, the AI stocks, and this includes Microsoft and Google, which have a heavy business in the artificial intelligence, those stocks have really outperformed the overall market. They've had great gains, and those are the kinds of stocks that we want to own. Over the last month, we've seen gold stocks and oil and gas stocks outperform the market. Well, how do you find those? That's something that I can teach you to do. It's not very hard. I often make the joke that if you can draw a straight line with a ruler, you can be well on your way to analyzing any stock, any market. Now, the thing about my investment approach is it's not super time consuming. The tools that I built are big time savers. When I started out doing this, I would spend hours and hours a day looking for the right stocks to buy. And now I can do that in less than 10 minutes a day. And I will walk you through that tool. And again, at the end of the presentation, we'll actually apply the tool and see if we can find something worth considering. So it's all about the approach, the methodology, and the tools. And those are the core components of the Stockscores for investors. Our number one goal always is good risk management. Capital preservation is absolutely key. And so we have to always keep that in mind. We don't want to take big losses, but that doesn't mean we don't take losses. We do take losses. That's part of trading and investing. Sometimes you make a decision that's wrong, or it could even be a right decision, but just not the good result. And that's the reality of trading. And so you take the small loss, you move on. And if you don't have big losses, then generally you can be doing quite well in the market. All right, so let's talk a little bit about my approach to investing. The core theory of my approach is that information moves the market, but most people do not have information that is valuable because the stock market isn't fair. If you're using publicly available information, so things you read about in news releases, annual reports, may be interesting, but it doesn't help because that information, once it's in the public realm, is priced into the stock. You know, if a company announces, hey, we found the cure for colon cancer, great news. Obviously, the company is going to make lots of money from that treatment. But once that news is known, people are going to buy the stock up to the price that reflects that news. And so trading on news that is public has very little value. And you can appreciate why, right? If I say a stock is going to double its earnings, well, people are going to pay more for that stock. Stock price is going to jump, and now there's no opportunity left in that news. So if you want to make money off of information, off of news or things that are happening with the company, you have to have news that is not widely known. You have to have private information. Sometimes we call that inside information. Now, of course, trading on inside information is illegal, but not all private information is necessarily illegal. Sometimes people just do good research. You know, you've got these large institutional investors who manage billions of dollars. They've got the resources to put in a tremendous amount of effort and knowledge and expertise into figuring out what companies have undervalued stocks. And when they find one, they tend to buy in the market with fairly large size. You can imagine a company that has, $5 billion to invest. They're not taking a small position in any one company. And so when they start buying, they create the abnormal activity that I look for. I recognize that information is absolutely key to a stock moving up or down. But the information that I can get as a person who trades from home is not going to be that insightful because I just don't know any inside information on most companies. But there's always within every company someone who knows more. It could be an insider, it could be people close to the industry, it could be a large investor that has the capacity to generate good research and identify opportunity. And all I aim to do is follow that well-informed money. And the beautiful thing is, every trade leaves a footprint. And so the investor that is taking a very large position in a stock leaves a lot of footprints. They create abnormal activity in the market. And so what I did is I developed computer algorithms to look for abnormal activity. It looks through every stock that trades in North America, and it looks for stocks making abnormal price gains and abnormal volume. Now, it's not enough to say, oh, the stock went up 10% today. That's abnormal. Because 10% for a 50-cent stock is very different than 10% for a $50 stock. And so we have to always evaluate the price action of a stock relative to its own price history. And we can use statistical analysis to identify statistically significant abnormal activity. And the tools that I show you today will do that, amongst many other things. But my core concept is that the stock market isn't fair. Some people get better information than others. And by using market activity, I can identify situations where strong buying is indicative of a future price trend likelihood. It's never 100%. Don't think for a moment that it is, but we can trade opportunities that have a higher probability of working simply on the assumption that those who get better information leave footprints, and we're going to follow them. So how do you do that? Well, first you have to learn my strategies, and I will show you a tool in just a moment on how we do that. Then you have to practice. Through that process, I will support you. I teach about 100 people a year, 50 in the spring and 50 in the winter, maybe even a little less actually. And for those, they're going to get the benefit of the 30 years that I have been sitting in front of a computer watching the market. I have tens of thousands of hours, probably 30,000 hours of experience sitting in front of the market monitoring it. And through that, you start to get a sense of how things work. It's no different than someone who spends 30,000 hours playing piano. They get pretty good at playing piano. And I have a pretty good skill from having watched the market for a long time. And it's not complicated. I have been able to extract some simple concepts that seem to work quite well. And those are things that I can share through the education center that I'll show you in a moment, and the webinars that I do. And of course, this is the 4th webinar in this series. We've done 3 others. You'll be able to see those on my YouTube channel, Stockscores YouTube channel. Now we're also going to scan the market. That's our tool. I will show you that tool shortly. The aim is to identify investments with a high expected value. What that means is that the upside potential is better than the downside potential in consideration of probability. So in our last webinar, we talked about, a stock that maybe has a 60% chance of making $3 and a 40% chance of losing $1. That has a positive expected value. If you did that 10 times, you make money. Now, essential to that is practicing good risk management. So when you buy a stock, I'm going to show you how to know where to take a loss. And that loss point is based on the opinion of the market. It's based on how the market has traded for that stock in the last while. And we can identify floor prices that are sort of critical. If they're broken, it implies that that stock is likely to go lower. And then once we have a winner and it's moving up, we have to have a methodology for when to exit that trade, when to sell. And so, again, I can teach an approach that is pretty much based on logic, doesn't have a lot of emotional impact on the decision making, which is always the challenge because our emotions really become paramount in the buy and sell equation. And so what I wanted to do is take the emotion out of it and just have a set of rules that isn't perfect on any one trade, but works well over a large number of trades. Now, the second path we will take through the education center is for active traders. Now, not everyone wants to be an active trader, but if you do, we have a set of strategies and tools to help you day trade the market successfully or swing trade the market successfully. Now, day trading, we're holding stocks, but we don't hold them overnight. Typically I buy most of my positions in the opening hour of trading. I'm on the West Coast, and so that's from 6:30 till 7:30 a.m. I do most of my trades, sometimes up till 8 o'clock. And then it becomes a matter of when do I sell those, which I then monitor through the day. Now, there are trades later in the day as well, but the majority, I would say 80%, come in the opening hour, hour and a half. And then for swing trading, same thing, but in that case, I will often hold those stocks for a few days, not typically more than 2 weeks, usually 3 to 5 days. And the idea there is we're trying to find those stocks that are really moving faster than the market and make these big gains in a relatively short time period. So for example, I bought 4 stocks on Friday. 2 of them were winners. 1 was a break even, 1 was a loser. But across the 4, it was profitable. And 1 of them was really profitable. 1 was quite profitable. And 1, again, slight break even. It was slightly profitable, but I call it a break even because it was such a pittance. And then there was a loser. And the loser was relatively small compared to the winners. And so that's how you make money as a trader. So we're going to show you some tools, an education center where you can learn the basic theory, as well as my well-tested strategies for when to buy, when to sell, how to manage risk, and an often overlooked component, the process for finding them. And active traders can really beat the market dramatically because they're turning their capital over more often. And that's how you can increase return. Now, it takes more time. My investment approach can take 15 minutes a day, 15 minutes a week. But day and swing trading at a minimum is an hour, hour and a half a day, and it could be all day if you choose. So if you want to become an active trader, you start out by learning the basic theory, which is how to read a chart, how to know where support is, where you might sell the stock if it's not working out as a trade, how to identify the best opportunities. Then we're going to learn my specific strategies, rules for when to buy, when to sell. I've got specific tools that I've developed using a program called TradeStation, which I have no affiliation with, but I've been using it for 20 years. And I have another tool that I've created called Active Live, which is a webinar, much like this, that runs every day in real time, where I call out trades in the opening part of the day. And then through the rest of the day, you watch the same analysis tools that I use as it identifies stocks behaving abnormally. And it's using a powerful computer that can scan the entire US stock market in real time, looking for stocks that are behaving abnormally. And whether you're a Canadian, an American, in Europe, in Asia, you can trade these markets, specifically the American markets, because they're the most liquid, that present the best opportunity for active trading. Now, my investment tools cover all North American markets, Canadian and US. As an active trader, there's a swing trading process, what you do step by step for when to execute these trades. And again, you'll get trades all day long, but for many people, they don't want to sit in front of their screen all day long, and myself included. I've been sitting in front of my screen for over 30 years, and I just don't like to do it as long as I used to. So I typically trade for the first hour, hour and a half. That's when I take my entries. And then I monitor my positions, but I can do that from my cell phone. And so I can go about my day and I just check my positions from my phone. Sometimes I bring an iPad with me if I go to a coffee shop or something like that. So it really offers a lot of freedom. And then, of course, just like in the investment process, my students get support from me. Every day I'm giving my comments and teaching in our Active Live service. So what is Active Live? Active Live is a service that runs every trading day where you watch me create and monitor the market for day trades. So you're watching my analysis screen, which is here at my home, sitting on my desk. I've got this computer running analysis on every stock in the US, and it is looking for abnormal activity, and it presents automated instant trade signals. Now, most of the signals we get are not good enough, so we have to filter through them to identify the best. So for example, my intraday pullback strategy might give 20 signals in a day, and of that, 3 I'd be willing to buy. But it's not hard to look at 20, and I teach you what to look for to eliminate the 17 or the ones that aren't good enough, and to focus in on the best. And then the end of every trading day on Active Live, I go through and review every trade that I thought was good, as well as any trades that participants in Active Live did, I invite their comments. So someone might say, okay, I did an IPB on INDO at 11:37, and I'll give them my feedback. Did they follow the rules correctly? Did they sell it correctly? You just tell me your buy point, your sell point, the symbol, the strategy, and I can just keep reiterating the lessons that you learn through the course material, but in real market conditions, in actual trades. And that is probably one of the most valuable things that I do for my students, because it's allowing them to learn a skill where they don't have to depend on me to tell them what to buy and sell, but they instead become self-sufficient. And that's my goal. And everyone that starts with Active Live on day one is a little overwhelmed. There's a lot of numbers on the screen. I'm going to show you the screen in just a moment. But after a week, you start to say, okay, this makes sense. And after a couple weeks, you get it. And then it's just a matter of practicing so that you get good at picking the best candidates. And I reiterate those lessons every single day. You can learn my approach, you can ask me questions, and the cost of that service, including my daily coaching, is $245 a month, provided you are an active trader member of Stockscores, and we'll talk about that in more detail later in the presentation. So this is what the Active Live screen looks like. And this was from, I think this was from Thursday. And these stocks over here were swing trade candidates that I picked. These were stocks that we were watching for day trades. This is, see this here says IPB. So that's a strategy called intraday pullbacks. Here we have early riser. This is a relatively new strategy that's been working really good. In fact, those 4 trades that I did on Friday were all early risers. And this is where we look for them to make crossovers. We look for stocks that have low floats that are moving, and you can see some of these stocks made big gains through the day. So there's lots of information on this screen. Now, you're not going to use all of this. If you're a swing trader, you're going to watch this screen and this screen. And I call out some of my favorites each day. On Thursday, I actually didn't like any of the swing trades, and not a big surprise because the market was a little bit negative last week with the strong CPI number, but I did like day trades on the IPB, on the early risers. They were still good, even though the market was somewhat negative last week. And if you are, more of a day trader that wants to focus on opportunities in the first hour, you're probably going to be focused primarily on early risers and maybe IPBs. So there's something for everyone, and I want to really stress you don't do all of this because it's tools for different styles of trading, and you're monitoring that as you go through. All right, so we're all here because we want to be successful in the market. What do you need for success? Well, the first thing you need is knowledge. You have to know what to look for. When I started trading 30 years ago, there really weren't, books or courses on how to trade the stock market. There was a couple books on how to trade the futures market, and I read those, and I tried trading futures for a little while, but I found it a little hard. And so I kind of taught myself how to trade the stock market, but it took me 8 years before I was really successful. And after 8 years, I took the $30,000 that I had saved up and I turned that into $500,000 in a few months. And that sort of kick-started my career as a trader. I built the Stockscores website in partnership with another company, and really started to make a business out of trading stocks. You need to have a tool, and so for me, for investing, that tool is the Stockscores Market Scan. That tool is very expensive to build. It was probably about $250,000, maybe even a little more, back in 2000 when we built it, 2001. And so that's why we made a business out of this, where I teach people, I charge memberships, because the tool is expensive, and it's expensive just to keep it up and running. It's $100,000 a year just to keep that website up with the real-time data that we have running into the tool to populate the analysis. I need that tool for my own work, and I don't want to spend $100,000 a year on it, so we spread the cost out over a relatively small number of users. And again, You'll never see a lot of marketing from me. I'm not, advertising on Google or Instagram because I really don't want a lot of customers. Now you might say, why don't you want a lot of customers? Well, the reason is quite simple. If too many people are doing what I do, then it makes it harder for me to do what I do. I'm trading the same stocks as my students. And if we're a small group of people doing that, it's good. We can do well with those things. But if thousands and thousands of people were all trying to do the same thing at once, it takes the opportunity away very quickly. And so that's why I've really kept this business fairly small and allows me to, focus on trading. And there's people that I've seen build huge businesses of education and tools, and that's all they do. That's their core business, and power to them. But they're not traders. They're not, using their tools themselves in the way that maybe I do, because my primary focus every day is sitting in front of these screens you see behind me. Well, you don't see it, but they're behind me in my videos, trading those things in real time as it happens. All right, as you're learning, I think support is a big component. Everyone battles against uncertainty. When you start out in the market, when I started out, I would have an idea about what I wanted to do, but I wasn't necessarily sure that what I was doing was going to work. There's a lot of uncertainty in that. And so it would have been nice to be able to say, hey, coach, am I doing this right? I didn't have that. And that's probably why it took me 8 years to get successful. Well, one of the things that I do for my students is I give them that support. In Active Live every day, people give me their trade details and I tell them, you did it great or you made a mistake. And I show what that mistake is. And sometimes you can do everything great and still lose. And it's important to hear from someone to say, you know what, you did everything right, that trade just didn't work. And by the same token, sometimes people have a profitable trade, but I know that if they did that same sort of trade 10 times, they'd actually lose money. And so sometimes good trades are actually mistakes, and I can show that as people provide those trade details to me. Now, what you have to bring is you have to have capital. Obviously, if you're going to invest or trade the stock market, you have to have some money. I started with $3,000, and I think everyone should start slow because it's a skill that you have to learn. So even if you have $10 million in the market, I'd like you to start slow with a small amount of capital. But as you gain success, then you increase your risk tolerance and you start to buy bigger positions and you start to move up toward the point where you're using all of your capital. The key thing, as always, is number one goal, capital preservation. I don't want people to go broke. So many traders come into the market, they have no clue what they're doing, and they blow up their accounts in a short amount of time. My, real priority with my students is to try to help them so that that does not happen. You have to have discipline. You have to do the work. Okay, I can tell you what to do, but if you go off on your own tangent and basically become a gambler in the stock market, I'm not going to be able to help you much. So I have a lot of experience. I don't know everything. I make mistakes, but I've made every mistake and I've learned from them, and I can help you avoid a lot of the expensive and time-consuming mistakes that I've made. Now we have tools. I'm going to show you some of these tools in just a moment. The primary tool for the investor is Stockscores, the Stockscores website. And so we're going to do some market scans at the end. And of course, I'll take your stock questions using the charting tools. We have a risk calculator. For active traders, we have my Stockscores indicators for TradeStation, and we have the Stockscores Active Live service. So let's jump into the Stockscores website real quick here. And so I'm going to log in. Of course, you have to be a member to log into the website, and I'm going to do that quickly. Go to the Market Scan tool, and I've got these presets here available to me. All right, these presets, look under here, it says Investor Scans. Those are for investors. Now we have active trader scans as well. We do this sometimes. Generally, we don't use Stockscores for active trading because there's better real-time tools available. All right, so let's say I'm a Canadian. I'm looking for a stock to buy for my retirement plan. I want a Canadian stock. I want a stock that pays a little bit of a dividend. Of I might run the Stockscores Simple Canada scan. So I click on that, and I could add in that I want only stocks that yield at least 3%. Now, the market was down on Friday, so I don't know if we'll get many. Yeah, we only got 3. So here's 3 stocks that meet the criteria of that strategy. Okay, you can see their names, their prices, and their stock scores, how many times they traded on Friday. And then I can view these stocks in a slideshow, click on Go, and look at their charts. All right, so I can see that this stock has some rising bottoms. We talked about that sort of pattern on the webinar last Saturday. And again, you can see that video on the Stockscores YouTube channel from Saturday of last week. It's breaking out. It's breaking from quite a bit of volatility. There's no real strong volume with it. So I think it's a chart that's improving, but I don't think it's a great stock to buy right now. If you were in this stock, I would say hold because it looks good, but it's not, to me, a high probability time to enter. So let's go to the next one. Whitecap Resources. Again, I think it's a good hold. You can see the stock scores have gone from being below 60 to above 60, which is what we want. But that happened early in March when it broke out from a rising bottom and then started to really gather momentum there, like the second week of March, and now it's a hold. It is breaking a little pullback, and so I do think it's likely to continue the upward trend, but I would rather it, not be a place to enter here, but instead be a place to just be a holder of the stock if you're in it. Okay, one more, and again, this stock, good upward momentum, but it started that upward trend when it broke the downward trend line back here and then broke up from a rising bottom there. These are some of the principles you learn, but it's not, to me, the time to buy right now. It's more a time to be a holder. Now, we can do that scan on the US market, or we could do a different one. I could do a weekly scan. So let's say I want to look for longer term investment opportunities. I might run the Stockscores Simple Weekly US scan. However, before I do that, I need to change my default chart time frame to a 3-year weekly chart. So let me show you how you do that. And this, by the way, is a free tool. Being able to look at charts on Stockscores is free. You can always do that, see what the scores are and look at your charts. So I'm going to go down to the chart options tab below the chart. And here you can see that it's currently set to daily 8-month. I'm going to change this to weekly and make it a 3-year chart and click Create Chart. And now I've got a 3-year weekly chart of Microsoft. So I can see that it switched from a downward trend to an upward trend when it broke here from a rising bottom. To me, that was the buy point at 280. It is now in an upward trend. I don't see a reason to buy it, but it is a hold here. It's still in the upward trend. And until this upward trend line is broken, I would say it's a hold. All right, now let's go run the Stockscores Simple Weekly US scan. So I click on that. And what it's going to look for is stocks that have a sentiment score above 60. It's up at least 3% over the last 10 days. It's within 97% of its 150-day high, and it made at least 500 trades. This is a good little scan to help us find stocks that have some potential on a weekly time frame. So here's the first one. This one's actually pretty good. As a longer term hold, you can see that it's been going sideways for about 1.5 years. It has rising bottoms, and 2 weeks ago, it broke out. Now, I know that this is in the mining sector, which is a strong sector right now. So I think for a longer term holder, this is a decent stock to consider. Now, there are some weaknesses. First of all, it's a cheap stock. It's under $1. So it's maybe not as high quality a company. It is not as an established of a company. And the second thing I notice is that I don't see any strong volume in the last while. I'm going to just zoom in. There was a little bit of strong volume on April 1st, and that's when it kind of started to go. So based on all that analysis, which I can teach you to do yourself, I would rate this stock as 6 out of 10. So PZG, 6 out of 10. Here's another one that's very similar. I day traded this stock last week. I think this has decent long-term potential. I'd give this one a 6 out of 10 as well. If I was to zoom in on this and look at what's happened over the last couple of weeks, you can see that it's made quite a significant jump the last little while, and that's why I was day trading it the last, this week anyway. It started that move with abnormal activity back here in February, and then it did it again early in April. So I'm not real excited to buy it up here because I think it's kind of gone up quite a bit. I'd rather wait for it to pull back to this trend line and bounce off of it. And so to me, that's the strategy for this stock. Next one. Yeah, I don't see any good reason there. It's not breaking from a good pattern. And so this is the process. And this is the kind of thing you might do on the weekends as you look for opportunities. I teach you what to look for through the Education Center, which I'll show you in a moment. Now, we also have on Stockscores a risk calculator. So right here, it helps us figure out position size. So if I plan to buy at $10 and my stop loss is at $9 based on my analysis of the chart, and I'm willing to lose $250 and I pay $10 in commissions, click submit, it tells me I should buy 343 shares. All right, so these are all tools for members to look at charts, to have a portfolio on Stockscores, that's all free. But to use the market scan, you have to be a member of Stockscores, and I'll talk in a moment about how you do that. Well, let's jump to it now, actually. Go back here, investor membership. So when you become an investor member of Stockscores, you get access to the Education Center. I'm going to show you that in just a second. Inside the Education Center are the foundation lessons, which are the theory, and also we have investor strategies, which are the rules for when to buy, sell, the process, risk management, that sort of thing. With your investor membership, you get email support from me. So if you're a little lost on a particular strategy or how to do things, fire me an email. I answer almost every email within a day. Sometimes around this time of year, I can be a bit busier. It might take me a couple of days, but usually I'm pretty quick. You know, I sit in front of my computer most of the day trading, so I've always got some downtime where I can answer questions from my students. With your investor membership, you get 6 months access to the tools of Stockscores, you know, the market scan being the primary one. And then you renew that at $300 a year. That $300 a year is just to pay for the data costs that keep the website up and running. As I said, it's $5,000 or $6,000 a month to keep the website up, and we have enough members of Stockscores to keep that going. So let's jump into the Education Center now. So I go to Stockscores, Trader Training, go down to Education Center, and here you can see 4 core areas: getting started, foundation, investor, and active trader. So getting started, this is all free, so anyone can go look at this after the webinar. And so what are the Stockscores indicators? How do they work? If you want to tour the website, it's there. How charting works on Stockscores, that's all there, and that's all free. Now the core foundation, I guess, the theory of what we do is in the foundation section. So this is where you would start. So if you want to learn how to read chart patterns, the 6 elements of chart patterns, I can click on this little folder and it opens up the lesson. So it says what you're going to learn in that lesson. If you want to watch a video of me teaching that, you click on the little video icon and hit play. And now you've got a 30-minute video where I'm explaining different comments or concepts. All right. You also have a test where you can test yourself, and you have an assignment where I give you some things to make sure you understand the concepts. And if you go through the assignment and you got like half of them wrong and you're lost as to why, send me an email and I'll help you out with it. So I'm your teacher. You have to go through the process on your own, but I'm there to support you through that process. Okay, that's the Education Center in the foundation section. If I go back into it and go down to investor, this is where we have our strategies. So today we did a little bit of the Stockscores Simple weekly strategy, and we did a little bit of the Stockscores Simple daily. And so there's a lesson right there, the written component, the rules, and there's a video explaining it. There's no assignment or test because The assignment and the test is to practice it in the real market. For those who want to be active traders, there's an active trader section. So not only are there strategies like the Alpha Echo, the hit and run strategy, we'll have a new one up soon called Early Riser because it's a new strategy I've just developed over the last couple of months, working really well. And then we have some swing trading strategies, so there's that one there. And we have a video on how to use TradeStation basics, and actually 2 videos on how to use TradeStation. All right, so that's a little tour of the Education Center. The process, if you are an investor, so again, you're looking for things you're going to hold for weeks or months. Step 1 is you run the market scan, which we did. From the market scan, you inspect the charts, looking for what I teach you to look for. Once you find a good one, you do your risk management to size your positions. And then you go into the market and buy through your broker. Once you're in a trade, you monitor it for an exit signal. When you get an exit signal, you sell. And then you should always journal your trades just to learn from what you've done in the past. At any point, you can get my help if you're lost. I cannot tell you what to buy. I'm not a licensed investment advisor, but I can tell you if the chart is good or if it meets the rules or, those sorts of things. Now let's move on to Active Trader. It's everything that is in the investor course. So you have access to the foundation lessons, you have access to the investor strategies, but you also have access to the active trader strategies. And so you have access to the investor market scans on Stockscores. You get email support from me in the same way. You can renew your access to the tools for $300 a year. But these are the 2 things that sort of separate the active trader from the investor. You get my proprietary real-time indicators for TradeStation. Now, not every one of my students uses TradeStation because our active live service also does a lot of what we do with TradeStation. And so by being an active trader member, you can be eligible for the active live service where you are seeing my analysis screen through the trading day, along with my comments at the start of the day and at the end of the day. I pick stocks every day. I try to pick a few for my subscribers, but I'm also, more important to me is to teach them how to do it themselves. Okay, I don't want you to depend upon me. When you're learning, you're going to be dependent upon me, but as you get the skill, I'm going to try to transfer my knowledge of these markets to you, and eventually don't really need me anymore. And that's okay. That's the goal. So what is the process? Well, first of all, you're going to define what strategy you're going to focus on. When I showed that active live screen, I showed that there was a lot of different functional areas of that screen. And I recommend that people start with 1 strategy, maybe do 2 strategies, but not 5. It's just too much to do. You can't manage it all. So for example, let's say you're someone who is like me on the West Coast. You have to drive your kids to school at 8 o'clock. So you've got an hour and a half to trade the market. And if that's the situation you're in, then you maybe want to focus on the early riser strategy and the Alpha Echo swing strategy. Now, maybe you're a fireman or firewoman and you work 4 days and then you get 4 days off. I have quite a few students in that situation. So there's that shift work. So 4 days a week, you're going to be a trader, a day trader. You're going to trade all day. And then the other 4 days, you're not going to trade at all because you're at work. And so you don't want to be holding, day trades beyond, when you're at work because you don't want to not be there watching them. So that's something where you might focus on the superheroes, the intraday pullbacks, and maybe the early riser strategy. So you pick your strategy. You monitor active live, or you run TradeStation yourself, or you do both. I have lots of students that do both. And when we see an opportunity, we inspect the chart to see if it meets the rules. As I said, probably only 1 in 10 actually is one that we would execute on. Lots of them we just say no to because I teach you to be fussy. You can make more money doing 3 trades a day than doing 20 trades a day by being fussy and then putting more risk into a higher quality trade. So once you identify an opportunity, we have to do our risk management. size our positions, we enter the trade, and then we monitor for an exit signal. So for example, I did a day trade on INDO on Friday morning. I bought probably about 9:50 Eastern time, 6:50 my time. Don't remember the exact time, but it was somewhere around there. And I held it for a couple of hours and then sold and made, I don't know, 6 or 7 times risk on that trade. So we monitor for an exit signal, and then it's a good idea to journal your trades. I'm not very good at this part anymore, but I've done it a long time. But everyone, when they're starting out, should definitely keep track of their trades, either write it down, but write some comments. I used to print out the chart, show where I bought it, show where I sold it, put it in a binder, write some comments, why I bought, why I sold, because it's really valuable. You're basically, getting a lesson every time you make a trade. And if you do 100 trades, you're going to maybe start to see patterns in your decision making that is either good or something that needs to be fixed. Maybe you have a tendency to set your stops too tight. You've seen over and over again where you get stopped out and then the stock goes up again. Well, you're maybe setting the stop too tight out of fear. And so I can help you see that, or you might see that yourself. But again, I'm your coach through this process to help you learn. All right, Stockscores mentorship. So some people like to have me walk them through the material. And so once a year, and I don't even know if I'm going to do it that often anymore. I used to do it twice a year. I'm scaling this back a little bit. But this year, starting Wednesday, May 1st, I'm going to do 14 one-hour classes over the next 6 weeks. So from the start of May until the middle of June, we're going to do basically 2 classes a week. 1 week we do, or 2 weeks we do 3. And they're typically on like a Wednesday night, Thursday night, something like that. We do the odd one Saturday morning like this. And I'll just walk you through the material. I'll teach it to you personally. And it's a small group of people because there's, quite a few questions and extra help needed. I'm going to really hold your hand through the process. So for that reason, I don't take a lot of students for the mentorship because it's too demanding. And so it's 15 students. And as of right now, there's 6 spots left. So 9 have registered already. So if you would like to do that, I recommend that you don't wait too long. With the Stockscores mentorship, you also get a month of Active Live for free. So it's part of your learning if you're going to be an active trader is to be on Active Live. And I think it's really best for those who really want to make a serious go of trading the stock market for a living, whether full-time or part-time. I have lots and lots of students who've either retired from work and now trade full-time or quit their job and trade full-time. I have lots of students who kind of work and they trade the market a couple hours a day, and maybe they run their own business or something and they're also running that business while they trade. So a lot of different scenarios, but that I think is what the mentorship is best for. So I'm going to leave this up for a moment. I left this up the other day, but it's quite a bit of text. So I'll just leave it for a moment and just answer a couple of questions. Does your market scan have other exchanges like Hong Kong? No, only the North American market. So Canada and the US. Is it possible to successfully employ the simple swing strategy on the Stockscores market scan website with the 50-minute delay, or do you need the real-time data provided through the Active Live service? It is possible, but I think you'll make a lot more money if you're on Active Live and if you're using a real-time tool like TradeStation. It's like, you can spend $300 a month and make $5,000, or you can spend $300 a year and make $1,000. There's a benefit to using these real-time tools. And so I think it's well worth the investment to get the better tool. Are you picking stocks? What is the quickest way to calculate, as you are picking stocks, what is the quickest way to calculate the position size? So what a lot of people do is make a table that they print out that has the risk per share in one column and then the number of shares to purchase based on your risk tolerance. So let's say you're using $100 risk tolerance. You might have a table that says, okay, if the risk per share is 5 cents and $100 per share, I'm going to buy 2,000 shares. And they just build a table like that. So I have one of those printed out. But I've actually done this so long, I get really good at fast at sort of identifying the appropriate amount of risk. All right, I'll come back to questions later. I think I got most of them. We're going to do some stock questions at the end as well, so stick around for that. All right, so live training. So twice a year, I complement the online trading in the education center with some live classes. And those classes start in a little over a week, like 10 days. Monday, April 22nd, we're going to do the first overview class starting at 6 p.m. Pacific time. It'll go for about an hour and a half, and I'll take you through the first half of the theory. And then on Tuesday, I'll take you through the second half of the theory. So an hour and a half each night. And then Wednesday, Thursday, and Saturday, for about an hour, we will do some market scans together. Now, the first night, I'm going to do the market scans. I'm going to show you what to look for. I'm going to do it. The second night, we're going to do it together, but I'm going to make you write down on a piece of paper the ones that you like, and then I'm going to tell you which ones I like, and we'll compare. And you'll say, okay, I liked 8 of these. Tyler only liked 2. Why is that? And I'll basically teach you to be fussy, because most people, when they start out, are not fussy enough. And so it's practice, and I'm going to teach you to be better at picking good trades. And we usually find a few good ones, and I've had people say they paid for the course in that week of market scanning, but I wouldn't expect that, but it's certainly not impossible. For those that take the Active Trader course, you get a free month of Active Live with the course fee if you're an Active Trader course participant. And you can use that anytime. You don't have to use that in May or June. You can save it until next year if you want. Most people do it within the first few months. They take a month or two to go through the online material. And then when they think they're ready, you just send me an email and say, hey, I'd like to use my free month. We go on calendar months. So you can't start in the middle of the month. You have to say, okay, I'm going to do it for June. And then, the first Monday in June, we start. It could be the last Monday in May in theory. I always go like a 4-week period, and wherever the calendar cuts off is when we go. Now, the April classes, the 22nd, 23rd, and then 24th, 25th, and 27th, those are all recorded. So if for some reason you can't attend one of those, got other plans, you can still watch the video. And if you have questions, you'll just have to email me rather than ask questions live. So the special offer that I've talked about a little bit in the last few webinars is that anyone who registers for these classes before Thursday of this week, so Thursday coming up at 11 p.m. is the cutoff, will get the Stockscores Express, that overview class Monday and Tuesday, plus the market scanning Wednesday, Thursday, and Saturday at no cost. Now, if you're a current member and you want to redo that, you can do so. It's $195 to retake the Express class, and you can register for that in the upcoming events area of Stockscores. But if you are a new student and you sign up before the 18th, you get that for free. Okay, and if you are an Active Trader member registering before Thursday, April 18th, you're also going to get that month of Active Live for free. If you take the mentorship class, you get all this stuff as well. And I had someone the other day ask me about that because they're a student of mine from a previous class, and they were taking the mentorship this time around. Yes, you do get all of these things included. Now, the pricing. Investor class, $2,995 Canadian. If you are in Canada, you pay plus GST. If you are outside of Canada, there's no taxes charged. If you're an Active Trader student, it's $3,995. And if you want to do the mentorship, it's $5,995. If you did the investor course last year and you want to upgrade to Active Trader, it's $1,250. If you are already an active member of Stockscores and you want to do the mentorship this time around, it's $2,000. But up until Thursday night at 11 p.m., you can use these discount codes to get a discount on these courses. So this becomes $24.95 and $34.95 and of course $54.95. Now the discount codes do not count on these. It's only for the actual course. So write those down, or you can watch the video of this later. 500 ITA 24 for the investor course. You can see there's an I there, and ATA for active trader course. Those expire basically at midnight on the 18th. I always say 11 p.m., but it doesn't cut off right at 11. I just don't want people to leave it to the last second. So to register, pretty simple. Go to the Stockscores website and go to Trader Training, Education, oh, not Education Center. Go to Trader Training, learn how to trade. There's information here on the courses if you want more details. So there's a little video there. There's who's it right for, what's included, all that kind of thing is all there. And if you want to do that course, you just go order active trader, click on that, and then enter in your discount code 500 ATA24, apply discount. You see the $500 comes off. You see here it says $300 yearly. You don't pay that now. It's $34.95. In 6 months, if you want to renew, it's $300. Okay, so that's just showing you what the annual fee is to keep access to your tools. It doesn't mean that you have to pay that to stay or to maintain your access to the education. You always have access to the education. But if you want to use the market scan tool year after year after year, it's $300 a year. It's pretty cheap, relatively speaking. Okay, now, if you want to do the mentorship, it's a little more complicated. To do the mentorship, whoops, let me just get that back up here. To do the mentorship, you have to first buy the active trader course. Then you log out, log back in. Now the website knows you're an active trader member. Then you go to upcoming events and you scroll down to where it says active trader mentorship and you click on register online and it'll add the $2,000 on. You have to do it in 2 steps. Now notice I'm not doing it in 2 steps. It won't actually work properly. Okay, because you have to be an active trader member in order to buy the mentorship. Okay, so buy the active trader first or upgrade to the active trader. I'll show you how to upgrade in a second. And then log out, log back in, and you'll have access to all the active trader material, but then you can also sign up for the mentorship. Now, let's say you are an investor member and you want to upgrade to active trader, and maybe you also want to do the mentorship. So what you do is you first go to the education center and you scroll down to active trader, and for me it says purchase, but if you have not purchased active trader, it'll say something here like upgrade $1,250. Click on that and you can do the upgrade. Because I'm already an active trader member, it doesn't show that, but that's how you would do it. And then again, if you want to do the mentorship, log out, log back in, go to upcoming events, and right here it'll allow you to register for that. If you are an existing member, maybe you took the course 8 years ago and you just want to redo the express market scanning section, just go to the same area, register online, and it's $195 to retake it. Okay. So I'm going to do a quick poll. If you would like a email from me with more details, I will send that probably tomorrow. So I'm going to launch this poll, and just give me a second. If you've already answered this, you don't need to answer it again unless your answer changes, I guess. But so you can I'll leave that up for 20 seconds. In the meantime, I will answer a question here. As an investor, how many positions would you recommend having at a time? It depends a lot on market conditions. I think that there's not a great value in having more than 10. So, and it's simply because like you start to own the market when you have too many positions. You're diversifying away and taking out the alpha. So like when I day trade, I don't usually have more than 10, swing trade more than 10, and position trading maybe 15 on the upper boundary. I think that's enough. Again, it depends how much capital you have also. Another question, I can't trade until early afternoon since I work very early every morning. What scan do you suggest in that situation? So for that, I would do your abnormal breaks market scan and maybe your Stockscores simple. On the weekend, you could do the weekly scan. If you want to day trade, you can look for trades late in the day. There's just not that many. There are a few stocks that run in the last hour, so you could probably do something around that, because you often get stocks that go quiet through the middle of the day and then rally in the last hour, hour and a half. So you might be able to do that. I could probably help you with that if you wanted to do that more. And that's using all of our strategies. There's just fewer opportunities late in the day than there are in the morning. Okay, I'm going to take the poll down here. And thank you for answering. And again, if you've said yes, you will get an email likely tomorrow with some more information. So let me shut that down. I'm interested in the early riser strategy and the indicator. Is there more information available? Maybe you just email me with specific questions and I can help you. I don't have details on my strategies on the website, but I can answer any questions you have. So I'm going to put up my email address in just a minute. Before I do that, and before we do a little market scan, just sort of talk about the why. Why would you do my tools and my knowledge? When I started out, it took me 8 years to figure out how to trade the market. So it's a lot of time and money. I lost thousands of dollars trying to figure it out. In fact, at one point, I owed my uncle $30,000 and I had to make it back in order to pay him back. And because I didn't know what I was doing, I made lots of mistakes. So 30 years of trading just means I'm an expert. I've made every mistake and I can see them in other people very quickly. Because I don't teach a lot of people, I can give more personalized service. You know, I have staff that keep my website up, but all of the teaching and coaching is all me. You know, you're not going to get someone that I've trained to do it. It's only me. And because I've been teaching for 20 years, I have a lot of experience in how people learn and how to help them. I don't always make it easy. I don't think that's always in your best interest for me to tell you the answer. Sometimes I'm going to say, well, I want you to do this so that you can understand the answer. And so my goal ultimately is to make you independent. I don't want people to depend on me because, you know, one day I'm going to retire from teaching and you're going to have to know how to do this. The cost of education in the stock market is far lower than in other careers. You know, if you went to university, tens of thousands of dollars potentially to learn a career, and even then you're not going to make a lot of money doing that career. Trading, there's no limit on how much you can make. The most lucrative venture or most lucrative career, likely, you know, there's billionaires from stock trading. And, you know, you really find your freedom. And I think that to me is one of the most important things. I've had the good fortune of being able to live in Maui and Whistler and all over the place traveling because of trading. You know, for a year in 2016, I took a year off and moved to Maui, Kapalua Bay in a condo there and, you know, lived the life on the beach. To be honest, I got bored. Then I went to Whistler and lived there for 6 months. So these are all things you can do because of trading. Now, my goal is to make the process as easy and prosperous for you as possible. But remember, no one cares more about your money than you. I know lots about this. I've been teaching lots of people about this, but you have to put in the work. And if you want to do it, you will learn quicker through me because I've made all the mistakes already. It's all about avoiding pain and pursuing the profit. So the registration process, again, go to stockscores.com. Start off by setting up a free membership account if you don't already have one at Stockscores. And then go to the trader training menu, learn how to trade, and you can sign up there. Register before April 18th at 11. And once you register, you'll get immediate access to the tools. So you can start your learning. You can get right into the education center. You may have to log out and back in again, but other than that, it's pretty much instant. And then we'll start those live classes on April 22nd. And of course, $500 discount plus those bonus live training if you register before Thursday at 11 p.m. There's my email address. If you need any deeper questions answered, you can email me there. Question, while we learn what is the best strategy in Stockscores free access, there really isn't any. You know, you get very limited access to the tool, so it's not really something you can do unless you are a member. And let's look at a few stocks. Let's actually do a quick market scan first. And then if you have a stock question, go ahead and put it in. I won't get to all of them, but I try my best to do as many as I can. We will, what scan should we run? Let's run the abnormal breaks US. So we already did the Canadian one and run that. So there's 25 stocks that made an abnormal gain on Friday. And now what we're going to do is view their charts to see if they have a good chart pattern. Okay, and I have to first reset my chart to a daily chart, because remember we changed it to a weekly. So I'm just going to change this back to daily, to 8 months, create chart. And let's run a market scan again, see if we can find anything here. Abnormal breaks US. Okay, so I'm going to go slideshow, go, and don't like that one. This is not bad. A little bit of a spike in volume, having based for a while. I'd give that a 6 out of 10. That one's too late. Day traded that a lot last week, actually, twice, and swing traded. PED, good volume, breaking from a rising bottom. I want to take a look at the longer term time frame. It's also breaking a downward trend. It's going to run into resistance at $1.10, so the risk reward trade-off isn't great. I like at least 2 times upside for the downside, so I'd give that a 6 out of 10. These are all things that you're going to learn from me. Nope. Notice I go through these really fast. It's practice. When you start off, you're going to take longer. This is that stock I day traded on Friday. I bought it right here, and it had this great run to the upside, broke the upward trend line over there, but it's not a good position trade. Let's take a look at this. Yeah, not bad, but I think we can do better. Take a look at this one. This is pretty good for a longer term setup. I'd give this a 6.5. It's, you know, had resistance at $4 for months. Rising bottom means optimism. Breaking this week, having already broken the downward trend, yeah, I'd give that a 6.5 out of 10. Decent chance that it goes higher in the weeks ahead. It's a longer term setup, but looks pretty good. This one, the bus has left the station already. I don't know why that even comes up. Doesn't make any sense. Yeah, it's okay. This is an inverse ETF. So it goes up when the biotech sector goes down. I think it's okay, but I wouldn't give it more than a 6 out of 10. Nope. 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 This is the volatility index, by the way. I traded this on Friday as well, but it didn't close well, so I'm not sure that it's going to be a big move. By the way, I've done my market analysis video, which will be out tomorrow on Sunday on Stockscores, or sorry, on YouTube. And so I'll go into, you know, whether I think we've got a crash coming. I don't think so, but I do think we could see a little bit more weakness next week. And that video will be out tomorrow, Sunday morning on YouTube. All right, someone asking about, where is it here? GDX. So this is the gold mining ETF. It's had a big run. This is one of the things I talk about in the video that'll be out tomorrow. I made the video already. It did something called a bursting bubble. It hit a new high Friday morning and closed weak. So I think it's probably sideways. It could break the upward trend. It hasn't broken it yet. So it's a hold, but it's a cautious hold. And I'd watch it very closely. LPTX. It's okay if you're in it. I wouldn't buy it. I'm just going to take a little closer look here. Yeah, so the problem is it's got some resistance here. It traded abnormally there and also on Thursday, but it couldn't break through that resistance level. So it may get quiet here and then start to go again. The way I would trade this, if you're not in it already, is watch this chart, because it's actually a candidate for my alpha echo strategy, because it had very strong volume and now we want it to quiet down and then start to go again. So I'd watch for that. All right, T.BNE. Hold, wouldn't buy it, but it's a hold as long as the upward trend is not broken. So something like that. If it starts to break the upward trend from a falling top, I'd be a little bit concerned. T.EIF, a little bit of a breakdown on Friday. It's not terrible yet, but if it goes through this floor at 45.50, I would be concerned. Just taking a look at the longer term chart. Yeah, I don't love it. I'd say slightly negative on that one. F1, this is the company that owns Formula One, which is something I'm quite fond of, but the chart doesn't look wonderful. I think it's a chart probably best avoided, or a stock best avoided. Doesn't look great. V.ENW, I don't see any reason to hold that. Doesn't look great. And Vino, I'm gonna have to zoom in on this a little bit because the scale is quite skewed. Yeah, it's got a little bit of volume coming in, but nothing outstanding. If it can break through 64 with some good volume, might be worth considering. If you're in it, I'd hold, but DPZ, Domino's, good hold. Wouldn't buy it here, but it is a good hold. It's in a good upward trend, and you can see that the upward trend line is like this. And so long as that line is intact, it seems good. When it gets up to resistance at 560, it'll probably get stuck. And we're gonna do one more. Let's do ABOS. I'm sorry if I've missed yours. I just can't do them all. There's quite a few of them coming in. So this is okay. It's in an upward trend, but it's at the point where it needs to bounce. So if it doesn't bounce back soon, then I'd be concerned. But I would expect that there's a good chance it'll bounce in the next week. All right, a couple more questions. How do you decide which time frame chart? It depends on the style of trading you're doing. So if you are an investor, you might look at the daily or weekly chart. If you're a swing trader, you focus probably on the 13 or 30-minute chart. If you're a day trader, 1 or 2 minute chart. But I always look at multiple time frames. So even as a day trader, looking at the 1 minute chart as my primary chart, I also look at the 13-minute and the daily. And if I'm a position trader off the daily chart, I always look at the weekly chart as well. Okay, so I think we can wrap it up. I hope that you have enjoyed it today. I want to thank you for your time in listening today. And this is recorded as a video. There was a lot of information, so I will be uploading the video in the next couple of hours, and you can watch that on YouTube. And of course, my other webinars from earlier in the week are up on YouTube as well. You can see those then. And I think we'll wrap it up. Hope you've enjoyed it. Trade well. Thanks, everyone.